Hey, Renzo, how are you?
Champ, it's great to be here with you guys. Pa.
Hey,
Great
no,
pleasure. Pa.
no, thank you so much for joining. We have, ladies and gentlemen, we have fighting royalty here. We have a member of the world famous Gracie family. So
Thank
I
you, brother.
suppose
Thank you.
I suppose what I'd like you to do is just give a little brief introduction, if you wouldn't mind, Renzo.
Well, I'm Renzo Gracie, the best looking Gracie of the Gracie family. You know, like I've been fighting since I was 5 years old. My first competition was actually at 7. I began training at 5. My first competition at 7. I won, I think, every title we could win on this sport that I did. And throughout my amateur career, I actually was driving to become an MMA fighter. Back then it was called Vale Tudo.
Yeah.
So I was one of the initial fighters of this kind of events. And I used to fight bare knuckle, no gloves, no weight division. I used to be 155, fighting guys 235,
Yeah.
you know, and it was a blast. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and
And here I am.
yeah.
The real importance of my career is being reviewed by you,
With
my
me.
friend. So, and one day I'm coming over to Dublin so we can have a Guinness
have
together.
have
That'll
have
be a
a
pleasure.
beer. Well, listen. What I need you to do
Hell
is
yeah.
I need you holding off for at least another 10 months, because I'm off to drink until August. So
That's
anytime
a
after
deal.
that, you come
We'll
over,
do it after that. That'll be okay. I don't mind.
my man.
I keep training to get ready for you. You're Irish. You know how it is.
Exactly. So I suppose mentioning your fighting career, I mean, you're a man who's literally you've obviously you are one of the pioneers of the sport yourself, and you've also fought a who's who, I suppose, list of greats from BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, Sakuraba. I mean, you've fought some of the big names, obviously, and being a huge name yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
what
I
like
always every time they try to give me a easy fight, I never took it.
yeah,
You know,
I heard you
I
were
would
somebody
get
who took
somebody
on
else.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yes,
you, you said
it
anyone.
had to be I had to be a good guy. Like when I fought Dan Henderson, it
Yeah,
was with a 2 weeks notice.
yeah,
Someone that was fighting him pull out. They didn't have nobody to fight him. No other fighter accepted. When they call me, I say put my name on it immediately.
yeah.
You know, so I based my life and my career on that, and I had
Yeah.
a lot of fun. It was a
No,
great
that's
history
a
to
great
tell my
attitude to
grandson.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, it's funny because I remember hearing you describing fighting and the reason you fight. You said that obviously you have a lot of people go into I suppose MMA or boxing or Vale Tudo, as you described it back then, and some people go in for money, but I suppose you described it. I remember hearing you say that you're fighting to extend the history of your family. What did you mean by that, Henzo?
Definitely. I believe we represent jiu-jitsu, you know, like life chose us to carry this amazing flag. And I'm just a link in a chain. I don't ask people to remember the name Renzo Gracie. I ask them to remember the Gracie name.
Yeah.
You know, and with that obligation, I create an unbelievable academy where I receive every member of my family who wants to be a fighter, who wants to live off jiu-jitsu. They come to train with me here, you know. And I've been very successful at that. One of my main locations here, I have 1,500 students. I'm the Gracie who has the most Gracies training under my roof, you know.
Yeah.
So today, all the members of my family who want to become professionals on this business, they all come to live in New York to work with me here. And they all have a roof, they have mats, they have food, they have water, you know, and they have
Yeah.
opponents. We find them opponents
That's great.
to
Yeah.
build their career. Yeah, you know.
It's funny you should mention that, because obviously you see a lot of fighters, and you see a lot of fighters that they might go through their career, and then when their career kind of winds down, they kind of struggle to, I suppose, integrate into, I suppose, business and come up, and you see a lot of failed businesses. Whereas you, I mean, I suppose not an exception, but I mean, you are an exceptional entrepreneur in the fact that you're hugely successful with your schools and that. What's your secret there?
It's passion. I do what I love. You know, I really love this, and I think when you do something with so much passion, money is the result. Money will come. You know, and I
Yeah.
remember there was a time that I never thought that I could make money at teaching jiu-jitsu. you know, and how wrong I was. I thought that I would have to have another job, so I was studying to do something else. Back then, I had a business of importing and exporting medical materials, surgical supplies, and I was making pretty good money out of that. And then I had a bar. I bought a bar when I was 16 years old. I sold it when I was 22. So I was able to manage and run business through that time. And I always refused to work for someone else. I always was my own boss. I always did my own work, you know, since I was 10, shining shoes. That
Yeah.
was my box. I didn't pay nothing to nobody. So I did that when I was 10 years old. At 12, I used to collect balls in a tennis court, you know, and when I want to get money because my parents refused to give me money for candies or things like that. So I want to
Yeah.
have my own money. And I always work. And I applied this throughout my whole life. I ended up doing speeches at Harvard Business School. I was there talking at Microsoft, at Harvard. I spoke twice at the Columbia University in their business school, how I could be so successful. I
Yeah.
was invited by Tony Robbins in one convention where he brings out the top personalities on business in different
Yeah. Yeah.
fields. And in martial arts, I was invited. I was the #1 school in America. So they
Oh,
brought
that's
me over to
incredible.
explain how I could do that. Yeah, yeah. It's like the secret is do what you love. You love what you do. It's like if I sleep 4 hours a night for a month, I don't mind. You know, I
Yeah.
don't get tired. I
Yeah.
find the energy to make, and I see growing. And when people come, they see the difference. It's like people say, "Oh, we can compare our schools with somebody else, but never with Renzo. Renzo's school is different."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's true. My academy is what I dreamed growing up to train. The place that I dreamed growing up, you
Yeah.
know, to train. And I didn't have it back then. And I decided to make it, and I created. And today we have everything under one roof. We have judo there, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai.
Muay Thai. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. We have the #1 team of Muay Thai in the whole East Coast. Of
Wow.
we have a couple of guys that were fighting in glory. We have guys. We won 16 titles last year in Muay Thai. A
Wow.
year before that, 13. You know, so it's insane. I was able to do something very, very, very good.
Yeah. And like,
Thanks to the passion. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
exactly.
ahead,
And,
man.
like one of the things that I heard you speaking about as well is that I suppose you described training. You said the training has to be fun. The people have to go in there and like people have to go in and instead of going in and being all serious, because I see like you're obviously an infectious personality, and
Yeah,
you're saying, look, you've got to laugh and joke and have a bit of fun
yeah.
with the people and whatever, because that keeps people around as well. And then you get
Eh,
guys.
yes, yes. You have to make it entertainment. You have to make friendly. You have to joke. You have to. That's a moment for them to relax because fighting is already a tough thing.
Yeah.
So if you add on that for a bunch of jerks acting like masters and telling people what to do and being rough to people, you know, it takes the pleasure away. You got to make them, because I remember there was one guy when I was growing up. His
Mhm.
name was Malibu. And I was able to get him back in jiu-jitsu again. He's teaching, doing seminars again. That was my uncle's Hollis Academy. I was probably 11 years old. And there was days that I was tired. I didn't want to go train,
Mhm.
you know, but then I stop and I think, oh, Malibu will be there. Sergio Malibu will be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And he was always funny. He cracked jokes. You know, Holly sometimes chased him with the belt to hit him. But he made such a pleasure to be on that place. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how tired I was. I said, no, I'm going to go there because it's going to be a good moment. I'm
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
laugh. I'm going to joke. And then I get there, I begin training. I would train hard and I would laugh. I would joke. I would hear new things, you know. So that's what I said. Like a Jiu-Jitsu Academy has to be a place that every time you step your foot in there, it's like when you walk out, you have to have the feeling that you read a book. You know,
Yeah.
you're not only going to learn Jiu-Jitsu, but you're going to learn the experience of your friends had on their life, what they went through that day, the problems that they had, the solutions that they found, and how they think, how they see things. This is extremely important. It's not about just walking in, and this is
Mhm.
a big mistake that a lot of MMA fighters do. They just go in, they train for themselves, they don't care for the others. They not even listen to others. That's why you see people now having such a short career.
Yeah.
I was talking to the Fertitas one time, and they go, Renzo, the way that they are doing, the way that they are training, how long do you think their careers can last?
Mhm.
I go, in this selfish way, behaving like this, with these camps, acting like a bunch of stars and treating everybody else for like nothing. 4 years, 5 years. I say 5 years, and then they go. We took an average. They actually lasting 4, so a year less than I predicted. You know, they would give everything for 4 years and they'll be gone. You know,
no,
that's why the whole contract is designed to don't let you make McGregor's money.
Well,
this way you quit before you get there.
Exactly. I mean, in terms of, I suppose the thing with jiu-jitsu, and I suppose any combat sport, is it's very much something where you can go in and you've got to leave your ego at the door, because you can go in. I mean, I trained in Dublin with a Brazilian guy, and I think is Rafael Sapo one of your students?
Yes, I had dinner with him last night.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Rafael Sapo, the guy I trained with, was a black belt under Rafael Sapo. Okay,
so you're from a good family there.
Exactly. Exactly. So
lineage.
But I suppose I remember going in and I was training, and this guy was, I mean, I must have been about 40 kilos heavier than this guy. But I remember going in and going, this guy is flying me around the room, and I was there going like, this is something where I suppose if you went in with an aggressive attitude and you went in with you're going to be humbled very fast, right?
True. You have to understand, you are there. It's going to take time for you to develop, to understand, to be able to move with guys in a high level. So it's like if you have a ego problem. I remember one time George St. Pierre came in to train, and this kid, small little kid, skinny kid, start finishing him left and right. He would look at me with a smile on his face and say, "Did you see that? Did you see?" Well, it's like I knew right there. I said, that's a true champion, you know, that wouldn't hurt his ego. He knew he could get better. And he did. A few years later, nobody could finish him. You know, and this is how you gotta be. That's how your mindset has to be.
Exactly.
You know?
It's funny. So I remember when Rafael Sapo came over to Dublin, and I remember coming over, and I remember looking at him in the UFC, and he was fighting at welterweight. And I remember he came into the gym, and I was thinking, how is he a welterweight? He's huge.
He's big, man.
He's a big guy for a welterweight.
Yeah. People drop a lot of weight. People are averaging now 25, 30 pounds, which is like 12 kilos, 13 kilos, you know?
He was a big guy. I was like, what's going on?
How's that possible?
But okay, so you come from a country which is obviously, I suppose this is the utmost compliment to your family, that you come from a country which is obviously a huge country on the sporting map, primarily for football. But now when people say Brazil, it's not just football. When people think of Brazil, they think Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and they think football. What was it like growing up being a Gracie in Brazil? Because I'd imagine that a lot of people, when you're growing up, it's either people are going, right, I'm going to stay the fuck away from him, or else people are saying, right, I'm going to try my luck and try and make a name for myself with one of the Gracies.
Yeah. That happened many times, because I used to run one section of the beach in Rio, in Barra Quebra-Mar.
Yeah.
When I moved there, I was 11. I was turning 12. And they had a huge problem with people stealing things, with perverts going after the girls on the beach. They had problems with the drug sales a lot there. So when I moved in, I set up a group of kids, and I started teaching them jiu-jitsu, and we started training together. Back then in Barra, I didn't have a jiu-jitsu academy. I had to take 2 buses to go train in Copacabana and come back. Once I set up that thing and the kids and everything, we started cleaning the streets. We didn't let people steal anymore. We didn't let the perverts sit on their car, you know, jerking off for the ladies on the beach. We stopped all the drug sales everywhere. The police fell in love with us. They couldn't believe we started cleaning the whole. In the end, we had a jiu-jitsu crew. Now they want to make a statue of me there, you know, the police and the city. They know all the stories. My house ended up being like, we had a huge house with like 10 bedrooms. We end up helping kids to get out of drugs, to get out of alcohol, to train, to go in the Gracie diet. So it was unbelievable. And back then, football was much bigger than jiu-jitsu. You know, it was huge.
Yeah.
And my father was the president of the Maracanã Stadium at one point in his lifetime. And I remember I not even like to go watch soccer because I thought the advertisement that they make and the promotion that they make for football would shadow every other sport. So like we're in jiu-jitsu, nobody knew about us the way that they should, you know?
Yeah,
And thank God with time, we start changing that. Today, jiu-jitsu, it's everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I'd say growing up, when people kind of hear the name Gracie, because between yourself and your brothers, and then obviously your cousins as well, I mean, there's a lot of guys there I wouldn't be queuing up to get in an argument with. So
I was lucky because I was so skinny, and you know, when I was running this beach, I had to fight sometimes 3-4 times in one day. You know, it was the kids coming from the ghetto, from the favelas, from the city of God, and we had to keep them in order. They'll come try to steal it. I end up in fights with them, and in the end, there was those. Remember those? They call arrastão, which is like 100 people. They go through the beach and they steal everybody. They steal your phone, your purse. It's like 100 people from the favelas
burst onto the beach. Yeah, I've seen it.
They never did on this Quebra-Mar beach. They never did.
Really?
One time they went to begin. We were waiting for them. We had the umbrellas.
Yeah.
And everybody had the bottom of the umbrella that you pull it out. We cleaned. It was just one time they begin to try, it was done. Never again.
Yeah.
And I've been living here for 24 years. They still don't do it. You know, it's
And I suppose a question that I always wondered with Brazil was, and I suppose Rio especially was, I mean, I've never had the opportunity to go to Brazil yet, but I will do one day. But in terms of like, obviously football is the national sport, but in terms of jiu-jitsu, is jiu-jitsu something that's kind of practiced in the middle class and upper classes, or is it in kind of the working class, or all classes?
Now it's everywhere. Now they are beginning to put the new president is a very good friend of mine. They begin to develop a program to put it on school now. They're going to begin on the military schools in the capital in Brasilia, and they're going to spread. They just passed the law in Rio to start adding jiu-jitsu to the regular curriculum in school too. Wow. Same way they did in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. Abu Dhabi today, they have 1,000 Brazilians teaching jiu-jitsu there. And from now, they just passed a law that is going to be mandatory from kindergarten to college. And military and the police. So that means you can go up in a path. You can go from a sergeant to lieutenant if you don't have a purple belt.
Wow.
You know, they're making this the law, yes.
Good idea.
So they have 1,000
Brazilians as well.
It's good for, I believe jiu-jitsu is such a social tool, such a improvement too. And the reason why they did that, one of the kids from one of the sheiks was very depressed. He would spend the whole day playing video game at his room. He was overweight. Once he began doing jiu-jitsu, his life changed. His body changed, his mindset changed, his approach to other people changed. The father was so proud that he decided, let's put this in the whole country. And today, it's a national sport. You know, jiu-jitsu grew there. It's bigger than anywhere else today.
That's incredible.
You know?
That's incredible.
Beautiful work they are doing,
Yeah.
Now they hire 600 more Brazilians to teach there. So it's going to be 1,600 Brazilians working there teaching jiu-jitsu full time.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, in Dublin, where I'm from, I mean, the Brazilians must be the second biggest population in Dublin. The Brazilians are everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah.
Hey, Renzo, I'm not giving out because there's a lot of good Brazilian women on Tinder.
I tell you, I know.
No complaints.
But God bless you.
but in terms of when you were growing up, obviously I know your story, and I know you got in a lot of fights growing up. You actually got shot when you were 16. What actually happened there?
In reality, I was in the final of the nationals back then. You know, the bigger competition I was fighting. It's a very tough guy the next day.
Okay.
So I was giving a lift to a couple friends to a party. So I stopped there to let them get out of the car. The owner of the party came over and said, no, please, Renzo, come inside. It's the 15-year-old birthday of my sister. Please come inside just to say hello, and then you can go. I said, no problem. I came inside. When I came inside, a fight broke up.
Yeah.
And my friends, they were like 5 people. In 2 minutes, they were out, because the bottles were all on the table. And the whole party, they were friends. They were coming from one neighborhood nearby. So they all came against us. And once the fight began, I couldn't stop,
Yeah.
Actually, who initiated the fight was a guy on my side, one of my childhood friends, He began the thing, and then we had to fight. So I stayed fighting them. I stay in a corner, and they all trying to get me. I was the last one, and I'm fighting them. I had a broken glass in my hand, and I'm keeping them away, and I'm hitting them with other glasses and bottles. And at this moment, a guy came with a gun, and he shot me first. He missed it. I threw a glass at him. Then he shot me again and hit me in the leg. I charged him with 2 broken glasses. He ran away with his gun on his hand. When I went to third, my leg gave up. Then I heard the noise of the bone. I turned around, I jumped in one leg. The guy came after me shooting, but he missed me, and I went to the woman's bathroom. When I walked into the woman's bathroom, limping, with jumping in one leg, the girls all screaming. I said, there's a crazy guy killing everybody. If he comes in the bathroom, you guys are dead. Hold the door. So it's 20 women holding the door, while I went to check my knee. Yeah.
Jesus.
It took me a year to get better,
Yeah. So it actually broke the bone. It wasn't just a flesh wound.
Completely, no. It broke the bone, and the bone was connected by a very thin line. So they had to cast me from the chest, from the solar plexus down both legs.
Yeah.
So after that, anywhere I want to go with my friends, they carry me like a surfboard under the armpit, to anywhere I went with them.
That's incredible. So when the Gracies were growing up, obviously you and your brothers, and then obviously your cousins as well. I mean, obviously you're a world-renowned family in combat sports. But in terms of, was it quite competitive within the family? As I suppose, to who? Obviously you're all respectful and you never fight each other. And I know you guys have an honor code there, which is cool. But in terms of, was it competitive in terms of going like who's top dog within the family?
Definitely. So I think that fact actually helped us to shine, because we'll compete against each other so hard that when somebody else would come, it was just food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that drove us to excel constantly. We wouldn't stop.
Who was the best?
So we trained twice a day, every day, 7 days a week for years, Yeah. That was our regime. And then in the middle, we were like normally working out or surfing or doing something like this.
Yeah.
But even on the weekends, we would travel only where we had match to train.
Okay, gotcha. And was there one person that you can always remember that kind of stood out, going, okay, this guy's top dog, and like
There was many. There was always amazing people. Like I was a student of Renzo Gracie, who was one of the most amazing souls I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And if I'm a good teacher today, and if my school runs the way, I remember talking to him about having a school like this in the future. And he died in a hang gliding accident, but he set the standards of the teacher that I had to be.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how good he was. He was the one who trained Rickson, who trained all those guys. He was a champion, And then later Rickson came, then Helion. Like, I was surrounded by amazing people, amazing jiu-jitsu fighters, amazing thinkers. They always brought different ways of seeing the art, Yeah. And I think that was what actually forged me, I couldn't fail under the supervision of those amazing people. But always amazing students, amazing story. There was a Nino Chamber, there was an unbelievable jiu-jitsu. Helion, one of the best guards I have ever seen. Hickson with the most aggressive game. Hollis, back then, nobody could keep up. He was 67 kilos, nobody could keep up with him.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Like Neymar, now my nephew, I used to learn from his father that was married to my sister, Márcio Macarrão. Now he lives in Connecticut here, and his son is an unbelievable kid. He's been fighting a lot in Bellator and doing very well.
Yeah.
So it's like I was always surrounded by my heroes. I don't need to see comics to keep me entertained. I had them in my house all the time.
That's good. That's good. And I suppose one of the interviews that I saw of you, which I'll be honest with you, I was actually looking at it earlier on today, and it was an interview of where you were speaking about your late brother Hyan, and where you actually got emotional, and it actually made me quite emotional actually looking at it. And like
he was a kid. He was a kid. His jiu-jitsu was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, I back then we didn't have supplements in Brazil when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So what I would do, I would go to they breed horses, where they race and jumping horses, get vitamins for horses, wear it down a little bit with a mix of milk or this or that, and then feed them. I fed and I made him much stronger than I was. You know? He was, you know, so I was a kid that I put it to sleep. I cleaned his ass. I took care of everything, watch his training, you know. So I was very attached to him. He was one of the best souls I have ever seen. He was wild. He was a different. With him, there was no bullshit. You couldn't. He would tell you if he liked you, he would love you. If he doesn't like you, you couldn't be near. That's how it was, you know. So it's like it was a huge privilege to be next to a wild animal and don't get bit by him. Sometimes I'll get a kiss from him, you know, for my beautiful brother.
There was one sparring session where I saw you and Hyan, where you guys went at it, and oh my God! Here, listen.
This is.
I was tired looking at it.
Sparring session, every sparring session we had, was like that. We never went light, never.
Oh my God!
Life, we never went light, you know.
It was tiring looking at it.
A break. He started giving me a break, and he let me win, but he could have beat me. But since I was older, he would squash me, and then by the end, let me finish it.
That's crazy. Well, obviously it's back in 2007, but when something like that happens, it's you can never get over it. And my condolences there for you and for your loss. But
thank you, brother. No problem. Heaven is full of fighters now. The day that I get there, if they don't have trumpets, the sound of trumpets and drums as I'm arriving, and some of the Victoria's Secret girls wearing dresses and angels, I tell you, some Peter's gonna get his ass kicked.
You're so true. But there was one fight I remember seeing footage of, and you'll know the fight that I was talking about. It was in, I believe, Rio, and you were in a fight where, I mean, you were all over this guy, and he was super slippery. And you couldn't put him away, right? But I remember during the fight, there was guys, when your head was up against the cage, there was guys kicking you, and there was guys spitting at you and saying stuff to you. And then
I actually got stabbed. Someone cut me on the I don't know if it was a glass or a knife, but they cut my shoulder on the. It was one of the best moments of my life.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
What happened? There was a huge rivalry between Luta Livre and Jiu-Jitsu. So the guy who organized the event didn't hire good security. Suddenly 200 people invaded the arena, and they surrounded the cage. You know? And they were all guys from the ghetto, drug dealers. They're all the team that belongs to the Luta Livre. They're mostly from the favelas. You know, so the promoter said, "Hey, look, I don't think it's safe for you to go in there. You don't need to fight. I'll pay you. You don't fight." I start laughing. I said, "My dear friend, just do me a favor. Put me in there with him and lock the door. That's what I want." And it happened. I went in. We started fighting. They made it wasn't canvas. It was actually the vinyl. And the guy had oil everywhere. So he was slippery, like you couldn't. Whatever he put his back, I couldn't put my foot on the ground anymore. You know. But I was glad because I was punching him and I was happy with that. And these guys outside keep hitting me all the time. They kicking me. They you know, every time my back goes, they hit me on my head, touch the cage. They would kick my head. And I'm marking. There was this particular guy doing this all the time. At one moment, when the ref pulled us apart and I have my back here, I see the guy climbing the fence and start cursing at me. "You son of a bitch," and put his face. And I'm looking at my opponent, and I clock him right on the nose. Say, "Have a bitch." When I hit him, he fell. I brought the high and kicked him right in the face. And then the whole riot begun. Then the whole fight begun, you know. It was over 400 people fighting at the same time. They broke the whole arena. They broke everything. You know, they finished the show. You
Yeah,
know,
it
they
was
had to finish.
madness, wasn't it?
The lights came down. It was unbelievable. Bullets flying everywhere. What an amazing feeling, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And there was shots firing and everything in that.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. There was
Somebody
shot
tried to
fire
shoot your
everywhere.
brother.
Yes, yes. It was
Crazy.
unbelievable. And the funny thing, this guy who actually kicked me around the cage, he ended up being killed in a
Wow.
robbery or something in Brazil. They killed him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I suppose
Karma,
live
that's what
by
I'm
the
saying. Karma
sword,
is a
die by
bitch.
the
You know?
sword, isn't it?
Yes, yes. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's,
But
you know?
but one of the things I suppose about the Gracie family is, I mean, you guys always come across as, I suppose, respectful. And
Mhm.
I suppose looking at, I mean, you've seen some things with, say, for instance, well, when Chael Sonnen fought Anderson Silva, and when he starts talking about Brazil, and when he starts saying, I suppose, derogatory things about Brazil, and you see it going on with a lot. You see it a lot more these days, where I suppose I suppose there was something even a few
Yeah.
weeks ago between Israel Adesanya and John Jones, and when Israel Adesanya brought up something about John Jones's mother who's deceased, and I mean, some stuff that's kind of happening now can be a little bit tasteless. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm against that because what I grew up, you talk like this. If we see each other, I have to hit you.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no, so we can be in the same hotel, we can be in the same I'm gonna hit you anytime you're in my hands reach, I'm hitting you, you
yeah,
know. And one thing with Chael Sonnen say Renzo called me, and the reason why I call him is because I know Chael since he was a young kid fighting in Japan in Pancrase, you
okay,
know. And I knew he was an amazing, tough guy, brilliant mind, you know, amazing soul. And I say, I can't let the Brazilians think he's this jerk because he's not. I
yeah,
knew him well,
yeah,
you know. So I say, Gail, that was beautiful. Everything is good. Everything is safe. From now on, stop.
yeah,
Because you need to show them the amazing fighter that you are, the amazing soul that you are, you
yeah,
know, what actually forges our sport. So he goes, oh, Renzo, I'm sorry. That's when he stopped, you
yeah,
know, and then he went for his fighting. A lot of times people think that sells fight, he promotes the fight. You can do that with respect, you know. If
yeah,
they want to learn how to do it, they should look to Muhammad Ali. He could
yeah,
do that without putting nobody down. You're not talking about someone's mother who's deceased, someone's brother who's deceased. You know, you're not insulting in a way that, you know,
yeah. No, I'm
like
with you. I'm
recently,
with you.
that guy Walid, yeah, that guy Walid was insulting me every left and right, talking a lot of trash, talking about my brother. So I set up an appointment to fight him in Brazil.
Yeah,
So he spoke for like a year. He ran away for like a year. I actually tried to put the fight in ONE FC, everything signed up. He jumped out. He not even signed. He claimed he was fighting me a week before our date that we had. So I fought Yuki Kondo in Manila,
you've you've
who
you've
was supposed
you've
to be
kind of
one.
broken up there for
So
a
he spoke a lot, and I know how cowards are. I wait. Yeah, the fight Kondo in Manila. I was supposed to fight Walid at ONE FC.
okay,
And
okay,
he agreed. He spoke to the owner, Chatri, the president of ONE. Everything agreed. And then a week later, he announced that he's fighting me a week earlier than my fight with him in Manila, in
yeah,
Brazil. I said, what is this? Are you retarded? We have a date. We're fighting in Manila. So in reality, he didn't want to fight. He chicken out, pull out. But I know how cowards think. So I
yeah,
set up a trap. I pretend I didn't want anymore, that I was going to let him go. So he goes, start challenging me. I fight you at the academy. That's what I want to hear. So I say, it's a deal. I'm coming. August 8th, I'll be there.
okay,
So I flew. For you to have an idea, that week was crazy. A tree fell in my house, putting all the electricity down here. So I had to set up generators and everything so my family would have electricity and everything here. That delayed me. I got to Houston to fly to Brazil, to Rio. A kid swallows a bunch of ecstasy.
oh,
As we're midway at 3 hours and a half into the flight, we have to return it to Houston.
oh
So
no,
they arrest the kid. The kid has to pilk those drugs. It delays another day. So I end up arriving in Rio at August 8th at 1:15
yeah,
in the afternoon. And I'm booked to fight him at 3 o'clock. between 3 and 3:30 at this academy. So I jump in a cab, go to my mom's house, take a shower, go run for 20 minutes, do some shadow box, and head there to fight him. I walk in there, I wait for an hour and a half, he never shows up. He took a plane and left to Manaus. So, so most of the time in my lifetime, anybody who insults people like this, they are afraid.
Yeah.
They are shitting on their pants, and they need to do that, trying to scare someone away. My dear friend, let me tell you one thing. In this lifetime, I will never be afraid of nothing. The only fear I have in my life is to disappoint those that I love. That's the only thing that I will look forward to never do. That's the only fear I have. If a lion comes to eat me and I'm in the middle of the savannah, I'm not running away. I'm running towards him. And I promise you one thing. It's going to be the toughest meal that motherfucker ever had. And before I leave, I will leave the marks of my teeth on him. He's going to have a bite back. Guarantee for sure. So how are you going to scare me? How are you going to scare me by talking? Scare me by beating me up, make me scared. I want to see that. Recently, I was in Hawaii with my daughter. My daughter brought me to swim with sharks. I say, swim with sharks. When I get there, I look, I say, what is the cage? She goes, there's no cage, it's open ocean. 1.5 miles off the coast.
Yeah.
Oh, in the middle of nowhere. You can't see the bottom. You can't see the floor of the ocean. So
the sharks are scared of Renzo.
Oh, I jump in. I say, when I look, there was 20 sharks around the boat.
Jesus.
I said, my daughter, how am I going to go in the water like this? No, we got to. I said, really? I asked the guy, you just jump? The guy, yeah. I jump in and I went. So my daughter came right after. So there was one particular shark that keeps coming close to my daughter all the time. Because I think she's the smallest one in the group. So all the time he would come closer. And I switch my daughter's on my side. I switch her sides every time the shark comes close. I start getting pissed. Then I dive and I grab the shark by the tail. Boy, the guy, the coach that was there taking care, he freaked out. You out of your mind? We're going to be food. I said, no. Where I come from, I call this sushi. This is sushi for me.
Choke him out.
So I have they film. Yeah. They have me going and grabbing the shark by the tail. But I never want to do that again. It was the most uncomfortable thing ever.
Yeah, I bet.
So after this, to be afraid of a man is very difficult.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You see, like one thing I think that people often, I think it's the fear of failure and embarrassment, and it's the humiliation of losing in front of your friends and your loved ones, and it's that embarrassment. That's the fear. It's not the fear of the man a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
Definitely. To look bad. To embarrass itself. People, a lot of times they're afraid of that. That's why I think inside that cage, inside that ring, is a surprise box. I always say the next one, because the next one I didn't leave yet. I don't know what to expect. I'm going to be able to tell you after. If it was good or not. So that experience, the memory that I still don't have it, for sure will be the most intense one, and I'm going to work to make it the best one. And because for the fact that you're stepping into the unknown will be the best experience you can have in your lifetime.
Yeah, I'm with you. One thing I have to pick your brains on, Renzo, is this weekend we've got a very big fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Justin Gaethje, which is, for me, it's a very interesting stylistic matchup, because obviously Khabib has looked pretty impressive so far, to say the least. I think that's an understatement. But in terms of, I don't think he's come up against a high-level wrestler and somebody that might be able to keep the fight kind of in the center of the octagon and away from the cage. What's your thoughts on that one?
It's going to be a very interesting fight. Definitely the two top on their weight divisions are facing each other this weekend, and I love Khabib. His game is amazing. It's designed for MMA, the way that he uses wrestling. His jiu-jitsu has improved a lot, So I'm very good friends with Khabib. I admire Gaethje a lot, but I see Khabib winning this fight. I see the way that Khabib grinds and the way I've seen Khabib taking Daniel Cormier down.
Yeah, really?
Yes. So it's like, even though Gaethje is a high standard wrestler, is still Khabib is going to give him a lot of trouble. It's going to be very interesting. And Khabib has been improving his hands a lot. You know, definitely it's a fight. I'll be rooting for both of them, and that definitely is. I'm sorry, I'll be rooting for Khabib. I love Khabib more. That Russian prick, he's the best, and he's so righteous. So it's like the way that he behaves, the way that he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat junk. He takes care of all his friends, all his family. You know,
Yeah.
I had moments with that crazy Russian that I can't believe. I was in actually Moscow with him, and I saw how they love him, how they respect him. I saw him with the Muslim communities, you know, bringing all the Muslims to cheer and watch MMA. So it's, you know, I'm rooting for him,
Better
and I
respect
wish
it.
both a lot of success. Yes,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to watch this fight. And I think if anybody who likes fighting should be watching this fight.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know,
For sure. So
I can't wait.
So the winner of that fight will most likely face the winner of, I suppose, our own Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, who are due to fight in January. So obviously, I suppose the thing with Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier is, since the last time they fought, I would have thought that both fighters have improved and evolved drastically. And it's going to be, I mean, I don't think you can even look at the first fight as a blueprint for this one, because I think Dustin Poirier has come on so much. I think his hands have got so much better, and I think Conor McGregor has still got better as well. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting fight. Interested to hear your thoughts on that, and then I want to ask you something else about Conor.
I have to agree with you 100%. You can't take the first fight as the blueprint for the second one. This is going to be a completely different show. Both are in a completely different level. They both improve a lot, and it's going to be very interesting to watch this fight. You know, I can't wait to watch that one too.
Who do you have in that one?
Sure. I'm looking at McGregor winning. You know, McGregor is more precise, and
he's got a lot of power, doesn't he?
Yes. If you let that hand reach your face, if you're just thinking about trading blows with him, chances are you're gonna end up laying down on the canvas.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing that we spoke about there a few minutes ago was, I suppose the respect and whatever within fighting. And I suppose in this country, and I've got to admit, I'm not one of them. I'm still a fan of Conor McGregor. I think he's made mistakes. I think he's made a few mistakes, but I suppose my view on it is, anyone who's in their late 20s or in their 20s or early 30s and they make 150 million, Jesus, look, judge me if I do that, and I guarantee I'll be making some mistakes as well. So I'm not going to throw the guy on under the bus. And I think he's looking to improve, and I think he's trying to get himself straight and whatever. I suppose in Ireland, I know that the attitude towards Conor McGregor, I think a lot of people are kind of divided now, because when Conor McGregor burst on the scene, you fell in love with him because he had this personality that was just, he was lovable. But then he kind of went down, I suppose, a route where he did some things like the Khabib thing, and there was a few other incidents, the guy that he hit in the bar, and people were like, you know, I'm not sure about that. Now, I think he deserves a second chance, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on Conor.
Definitely he does. You know, it's like, you have to understand, suddenly success like this, you know, it's like me. I was raised to be a Gracie and to become a Gracie and one day be a champion, and I was prepared for all this. That's why I'm unfazed. It doesn't matter. There's no money to make me change. There's no status that I can reach that would change me. But a lot of times, like a McGregor, he didn't expect that growth so suddenly. And then suddenly, exactly like you say, you have $100 million, you have everybody kissing your butt and acting like you became the leader of the number one in the world on your standards. And that happens. It happens with a lot of athletes. But I believe it's just a phase. You know, it's just a phase soon. I think he's growing up and he's getting, you know, it's amazing soul. It's a guy that I'm very thankful for the attention that he brought to our sport.
Yeah, for sure.
And to the level that he brought our sport. So I'm very thankful to him for that. You know, he really made MMA shine, and and be seen in different ways and being watched by ordinary people that didn't watch before fight.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, after him, they began watching.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I've got two last questions for you, Renzo, if that's okay, right?
Tell me, brother. Perfect.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so my first question is, okay, so you always hear people talking about the greatest of all time. A lot of the time people mention Fedor, Anderson Silva. You hear John Jones, obviously George St. Pierre. A lot of names get thrown out there. Obviously, I'm speaking to somebody who's one of the most respected people in the history of the sport. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on who is the greatest of all time.
It's there is times, phases. You know, it's like it's difficult to tell one was the greatest. There were so many amazing people in our sport. There was Fedor, John Jones, amazing, you know, fighter. There is people that shine. Look at Anderson Silva, champion for over 7 years. Look at Jose Aldo, champion for 7 years, you know. Look at me. Why I tell you this? Because what I did will never be done again.
Yeah.
I was actually, the weight that I used to compete in the nationals and everything was 145 pounds.
Yeah.
In 93, 94, that's when I changed to I think it was 93, 94, I changed to MMA. And then from there, back then, there was no weight division. I fought 3 heavyweights in one night.
Yeah.
And I was actually 153 pounds back then.
Yeah.
You know? And then I went to Japan, and one time I remember sitting in an interview with all the guys that fought the 205. They fought 205, 220. And the reporter keeps looking at me, and I go, what? And then he goes, I never thought you were so small. I see on TV, I thought you were on that size.
Yeah.
I never realized you half that size. Yeah. I say, yes, I know. But I have a bigger heart than all of them.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So it's like, for what I did, I don't see, it will be the same as Jose Aldo now going and beating John Jones.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. I remember when I fought Oleg Taktarov, he was the heavyweight champion of the UFC. And I remember Taktarov, when he arrived, he didn't know who I was. So he's looking at my training partner. There was a guy 200. He was 6'4", 240. So Taktarov is looking at him like he was Renzo, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm quiet, just looking in the elevator, you know? When we go to the face-off and he sees me, and it can't be this guy. He's too small.
Yeah.
This is a joke. You know?
Yeah.
He was around 230. I was probably 155, 160, you know?
Yeah.
And then he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, you're too small. I'm going to probably go out to a strip club tonight, get drunk, smoke a joint, and be ready for tomorrow. I said to him, if I was you, I wouldn't do that. Otherwise, I'm going to be having Kiev chicken for dinner tomorrow. All the Russians began laughing, but him. He looked.
Yeah. He knew who you were afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, hell yeah, never forgot.
Yeah, for sure. Right, last question for you, right? There's another big fight coming up, and it's in a different arena between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and that's coming up. And a lot of people, a lot of obviously in all presidential elections, a lot of eyes are on it. You're obviously a Brazilian immigrant that's come into the US, and you're living in the US now. I suppose Donald Trump is definitely divisive. I'd be interested to hear who you've got in this race.
Actually, I became American citizen, and I'm actually voting on Trump.
You're voting?
Me and my whole family, I vote for Trump, yeah.
Why?
You know, this country was doing great until this pandemic began, until this problem with COVID began. But he has his crazy ways of being, you know. He's a guy that used to run Apprentice. Actually, I'm doing Apprentice next week with George St. Pierre in Singapore. Yeah, we're flying over on Tuesday, and we're doing on 27 until the 3rd.
That's awesome.
For ONE FC. We're going to do an Apprentice episode, me and George.
Cool.
You know, but so you have this guy, but at the same time, that guy is good for the business. My academy did the best ever since he became president, you know. Yeah. And I was breaking all the records until the COVID began.
Yeah.
You know, I knew it was getting better. The economy was getting better. Everything, the country was getting solid. You know, so for the country, for the business, for the people, you know, I think he's the best. You know,
Yeah.
Biden I don't trust much, and you know, what they did it on the past, and when he was working with Obama, and
Yeah.
I would rather have the craziness of Trump than the craziness of Biden.
Okay. Yeah. No.
On our
Fair enough,
government.
and
Yes.
it's fair enough, and it's a valid point. And one last thing that I'm going to say to you. So remember, I told you that I'm off the drink until August.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I've got a bet on. So I've got to stay off the drink for 1 year, and if I win this bet, one of my friends has to buy me flights to New York and 3 nights accommodation in the Plaza Hotel in Central Park. I'm a massive Home Alone 2 fan. So when I'm over, I'm going to call into your academy.
That's your school. You come stay with us, train with us, and I'll have a Guinness with you.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Listen, thank you so much for joining. And I wish you the very best of luck. Safe travels to Singapore. And I hope the academies absolutely kill it. I know they will.
Thank you. And I'm waiting for you after you win.
Hey, let's do it.
This ticket. And I'll see you on the plaza here, brother.
Awesome.
Bring the luck of the Irish here.
I will do. Thanks, brother. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, brother.